You're troublesome and your role is over, so get out. Mom, that's exactly right. I was thinking the same. So, Allison, we are going to get a divorce. Please leave here immediately. During our married life, I was forced to live with my in-laws and even had to help with loan repayments, only to be suddenly deemed unnecessary and told about the divorce. I have even reached the limits of my patience. Sadly, I thought of putting everyone in my in-laws family, including my husband, into a difficult situation. My name is Allison and I am 34 years old. This year marks the 6th year of my marriage with my husband, Ethan. We don't have any children yet, and to be honest, our relationship has completely cooled off. I thought marrying you would bring a more exciting life, but it was surprising. Well, you can spend your life working here as a maid. Don't act too big. About half a year into our marriage, my husband started calling me you, and I can't even remember the last time he called me honey. I wonder why I married such a heartless man. Sometimes I reflect on the past, but the details of those memories have become blurred. However, my husband was much warmer, more compassionate, and trustworthy than he is now. Because I grew up in a PUA family, I strongly wish to avoid economic hardships when getting married. For this reason, I completely ruled out men who liked gambling as potential marriage partners. Even after entering society following high school, I carried the habits of my poor days. When buying something, I would overthink and be cautious. Ethan saw my cautious behavior as practical and economical, which might have been a big factor in his decision to marry me. How much savings do you have, Allison? You don't seem interested in luxury or fashion. Actually, I'm similar to you. Our personalities match, and our financial values seem to align, Ethan would often say to me. For me, who desperately wanted to avoid a poor life, having a husband with matching financial values was truly a blessing. It further deepened our bond. Married life is built on mutual understanding and support. We pride ourselves on understanding each other concerning money. The days spent with Ethan were fulfilling due to less financial worries. But on reflection, commenting on someone else's savings is a breach of etiquette, and casually stating a lack of interest in fashion is unacceptable. As a woman, being indifferent to fashion is unimaginable. My savings, well, I'm not sure about the exact amount, but I definitely try to save most of my monthly salary. Oh, and I am very interested in fashion. I always skillfully avoided financial questions to prevent further prying. We got engaged within a year of dating, but after we got married, Ethan's behavior gradually began to change. The unexpected suggestion of living with his parents came just after we got married. When Ethan returned from work, he started with excitement. I have something to discuss with you, Allison. Don't be shocked. His expression at that time gave me an ominous feeling. The topic he brought up was beyond my worst expectations. Ethan suggested that we start living with his parents during our newlywed period. It was a shocking proposition for me and had a significant impact on our relationship. This suggestion was far from what I had hoped for before marriage. I had dreamed of building our small world through our married life, but this proposal shattered that dream. For me, life with Ethan was supposed to be about just the two of us, without the intervention of others. Accepting this proposition was far from my ideal, marking a major crossroads in my relationship with Ethan. Ethan's unexpected suggestion became a significant trial for us as a couple and greatly influenced my values and expectations. It was a painful reminder that unexpected challenges can arise in married life. After discussing with my mom, I decided we should live with her. She gets lonely without me, and our apartment lease is ending soon, so I decided we should move, he announced. My opinion was completely ignored, and it seemed he and his mother had already made many decisions. Wait, isn't that too sudden? Your family home is quite far from my workplace. I really wanted to avoid living together, so I raised an objection, but I was firmly told that it had already been decided. He was always saying "Mom, Mom," which was off-putting enough. But what he said next was even more shocking. The house is too small and inconvenient for 4 people to live in, especially since my sister often visits. That's why I'm taking out a loan to renovate the house, Ethan said. This decision, too, was made without consulting me, and he had taken out a loan on his own. Can it be true? Is he serious? Before I could hear the whole story, I was speechless. How am I going to deal with this self-centered man from now on? That question crossed my mind. Life in my in-laws' home, and the frequent appearances of my sister-in-law. After a series of unbelievable stories, my husband made an even more shocking statement. That's why I want you to quit your current job. From now on, you must take care of my parents, not live just as my wife. If you still want to work, I'll allow you to do some work from home, he said. The development of the conversation was too sudden and one-sided, and it took time for me to accept and understand the situation. What? Why are you being so unreasonable? You're not considering my feelings at all. What? Why do I have to consider your feelings? I'm the head of the family, so I make all the decisions, he argued back. I had been working on plans for years, and now I'm being asked to give them up and become a full-time housewife. Gradually, I began to see the essence of what my husband was trying to say. I never imagined that I would end up in this situation within a year of marriage. Originally, I wanted to rebel against what I saw as a breach of promise, but I lacked the courage and didn't want to burden my parents. In the end, I had no choice but to comply. All right. I'll quit my job and live with you. But if there are any mother-in-law issues, please listen to me. That's all I ask. Yeah, don't worry. Listening is easy. After all, I'm on your side. I was serious, but it seemed that my husband was taking it lightly. And as expected, as soon as we started living together, conflicts between me and my mother-in-law began. The renovated house was larger than expected, and private space was secured, but I became busy with daily chores. I was still working right after the move. But my mother-in-law, uninterested in my work situation, said, "Hey, when are you going to quit your job and focus on housework? The house won't be in order if you keep this up." Every day, I faced one-sided criticism upon returning home exhausted. Initially, my husband had promised to support me with mother-in-law issues, but in reality, he never stood up for me, and eventually, he and his mother started blaming me together. Have you ever considered my mother's age? It's unreasonable to push housework onto her. I somehow ended up being the bad person just because I asked them to manage their own affairs. My father-in-law was present but barely noticeable, trying to escape the household troubles. "Excuse me, father. May I have a word?" Even when I tried to talk to him, he said, "No, don't talk to me. If she sees me talking to you, I don't know what my wife will say." It was just a simple question about the location of the circuit breaker. It's troubling that even such trivial conversation is not possible. 2 weeks after moving in, my husband and his mother started threatening me. "When are you quitting your job? If you don't, we'll contact your company." And a week after that talk, my resignation was decided. Despite resigning under pressure from my mother-in-law and husband, there were no words of gratitude from them. What followed were days of being made to work at home. "And since you quit your job and our income has decreased, don't just rely on me, but think of ways to earn money through home-based work," I was told. I realized I was being demanded to not be lazy and handle everything. I lost the energy to even argue in surprise. There was hardly any conversation between my husband and I had essentially become like a dedicated housemaid for his family. During this time, my husband's sister, Mary, often visited and confronted me, saying, "Hey, you're not leaving Ethan to pay off the house loan all by himself, are you? If you're living here, you should contribute to the repayments too." The renovation probably costed nearly $500,000. Why should I bear such responsibility? It felt unfair. Being held accountable just for living together seemed unreasonable to me. Forcing cohabitation from the start, pushing through a renovation, making me quit my job, and then demanding payments for the loan. This situation was abnormal from any angle. Normally, this wouldn't happen. I clearly felt that I married the wrong person. That night, my husband said with a smile, as my sister mentioned about the house loan repayment, "From now on, we're all going to share the burden. Actually, I think it's only natural for you, the wife, to pay." Seeing his attitude, I was just appalled. At that moment, I felt that continuing to live with my husband was impossible. I thought this situation would not only affect me negatively but also my in-laws' family. However, I hesitated to suggest divorce immediately. The main reason was to avoid worrying my parents. My mother was unwell, often needing hospital care, and my father was tired from caring for her. Bringing up my divorce issues might shock them greatly. Therefore, I couldn't make such a selfish choice. So, I decided to tackle the problems at hand first. I followed my husband's and in-law family's instructions, earning income through home-based work while actively contributing to the loan repayment. I frequently discussed with my husband about changing the loan process and accelerating the repayment plan, asking for his cooperation. Perhaps because I was devoted to repaying the loan, my husband said, "It's really good you've started acting like a proper wife of this house. If you were still arrogant, I would have considered divorce." Despite my contributing a large amount, the situation remained unfair. However, I decided to endure until things settled down. Before I knew it, I had turned 34 and it had been 6 years since my marriage. Thinking about the meaning of marriage made me sad, so I tried to stay as positive as possible. Sometimes, seeing old friends on social media posting happy family vacation photos with their children made me envious. I had wanted a happy married life and to have children too. But considering my situation then, those wishes seemed empty. However, recently, my mother-in-law had been less complaining about my behavior, saying, "The housemaid of the house finally became a decent person. She used to be an incomprehensible daughter-in-law, but it's good she's somewhat educated," while laughing with my sister-in-law. Home-based work turned out to be a good fit for me, and I had earned a considerable amount over the past few years, which I hadn't told my husband. Surprisingly, I managed to pay off the $500,000 loan in just a few years. Normally, it would take 35 years to pay off, so I was expecting to be thanked for repaying it before we turned 60. That night, I told my husband I had something important to discuss. Just about the house loan. Actually, it's already paid off. I have something serious to discuss with you today. In fact, I had prepared a divorce paper for this day and had been steadily preparing to leave the house. When I mentioned that the loan was paid off, my mother-in-law appeared, saying, "What? It's already paid off?" She barged into the conversation, listening keenly. "Yes, that's right. I was intending to have a serious talk with Ethan today, and at the moment I was about to talk about divorce, my mother-in-law approached me with a smile I had never seen before. There's nothing to worry about anymore. Unnecessary beings are no longer needed. From now on, we can start a new life with only the true family members, right?" She said. "Mom, that's right. I think the same. So Allison, we're getting a divorce. I want you to leave here quickly." My husband declared the divorce, even though I hadn't said anything yet. Despite being forced to live in the in-laws' house since marriage and even getting involved in repaying the household loan, I was suddenly kicked out from the house. I never imagined that my husband would bring up divorce before I could. Moreover, my mother-in-law called a locksmith right in front of me. "Can you change the locks as soon as possible? Please, as quickly as you can." I was just dumbfounded by this series of events. I had endured life in the in-laws' house and the relationship with my husband. But at that moment, I resolved to seek revenge against my husband and his family. My patience had finally reached its limit, and a flame of retribution ignited in my heart. Soon after, a locksmith arrived and began changing the house's locks. During this, my mother-in-law and husband looked at me smirking. "That settles it. Today you're leaving this house. From now on, it's just our happy family." Yes, Allison, you've done well to endure this far. But this is the end. Don't expect any compensation or division of property. We haven't caused any problems, continued my mother-in-law. Realizing there would be no division of property, I thought to myself, is this really okay? I never imagined it would come to this. While taking out the prepared divorce papers, then I created a document stating that there would be no compensation or division of property and had my husband sign it immediately. My husband signed the divorce papers with satisfaction, under the watchful eye of his mother. Meanwhile, my father-in-law quietly observed the scene from a corner of the room. The realization that my departure from them was becoming a reality gave me an immense sense of relief. I quickly packed my belongings and left the house with the signed documents. I heard cheers and applause from inside the house, but I felt like sending them the same sentiment, as the situation was about to change drastically. Upon leaving the house, I immediately rushed to the municipal office to submit the divorce papers. Then, I headed straight to the real estate agency. In fact, I had already visited the real estate agent several times and had started the procedures there. Mr. Cohen, my agent and an expert in this field, fully understood my plan and acted swiftly. About a week after leaving the house, I received the expected call from my ex-husband and his family. Allison, what are you doing? We received a notice to leave the house within a week. Is this your doing? Unbelievable. How could you? My ex-husband exclaimed in rage. Mr. Cohen was very efficient in completing the procedures quickly and finding a new owner for the house. Yes, about that. I was the one who contacted the real estate agent. After all, I paid off the loan for that house, and the title was transferred to me midway. You haven't forgotten, have you? I responded. It seemed my ex-husband had forgotten everything. He had only been focused on getting my help with the loan repayment from the start, and he had followed my instructions for the other procedures and changes, but he had overlooked the details. However, it was his own responsibility for not verifying. Trying to put that responsibility on me is unreasonable. In fact, I was the one who paid the enormous amount of $500,000. Plus, I never received any living expenses from you. Your parents, even when they received their pension, said, "We'll spend our own money," and didn't contribute a single penny to the household. The reason for that is, my ex-husband tried to make an excuse, but in the end, it was I who had been supporting this family for years. After I was told to earn income through home-based work, I did so thoroughly despite the constant dissatisfaction that made my stomach ache. Despite my continued support in repaying the loan, I received not a word of gratitude and was kicked out from the house that eventually had its locks changed. I couldn't just stay silent in this situation. Wait, listen to me. Let's talk again. I think we can understand each other. We are a family, right? Besides, I don't have anywhere to go after leaving this house. You understand that, right? My ex-husband appealed in a tearful voice, but I had no intention of being swayed by such feeble words at this point. Where to go? What about your sister's house? Why don't you all live with Mary? It's a family matter, after all, I suggested coldly. Then, my mother-in-law took the phone and furiously said, "How spiteful can you be? Living at Mary's is impossible. She's having a hard time with her divorce. I can't imagine burdening my daughter with this." I retaliated against her words. Is that so? It's fine to inconvenience a stranger even though she's your beloved son's wife. I see. I understand you're thinking well now. That's why I dislike you even more. There's no way I'll help. What are you saying? My mother-in-law shouted in rage. Her anger was palpable through the phone, with her furious voice making me want to cover my ears. I felt lighter having conveyed everything I wanted to say. Well, please leave the house immediately. You might have financial issues, but if you're a close-knit family, you'll manage by helping each other. Goodbye. I said calmly. Wait, this is no time for jokes. My mother-in-law screamed, but I calmly hung up the phone. At that crucial moment, my ex-husband just hid behind his mother and said nothing. His true character was revealed. He talked tough on the surface, but at critical moments, he backed down. I had chosen the wrong man. 3 days later, Mr. Cohen, my agent, informed me that my ex-family had stealthily moved out at night. Without a decided destination, they ultimately went to my father-in-law's rural hometown. Without savings and nowhere else to go, the countryside was their only option. Their economic hardships will continue, and they'll never again live in a beautiful single-family home. They should look back and remember the comfort of those times. I am relieved there was no division of property. After all, someone capable of repaying $500,000 in 5 years might have various plans, right? I was fortunate that my ex-husband was short-sighted. I planned to buy a new apartment with a fresh mindset and regain a comfortable life.